Wow, you have done some amazing topic proposals. I am very excited about what you're going to be looking into and what you're going to be sharing with your classmates. I have looked them over, and we're going to talk about one of them as an example here. But what I want to do is take some time and really give you some good feedback. Um, so that'll probably not be until Monday or so. So let's start off by just a quick overview. Your Module 1 closes on Sunday. On Thursday, when you come to class, I'm going to do a review for the exam. If you've only taken the test once, then you're going to really want to be here for that review so that when you take it the second and last time, that your grade is a whole lot better. So I'm going to do a good review to help you with the test. All extra credit is due by Sunday as well. So if there's any extra credit in Module 1 that you want to complete, or any extra credit that I sent you through an email or an announcement, that must be done by Sunday night as well. If you have not submitted a topic, I cannot give you points for that assignment because, as you know, late work is not accepted. However, you still have to have an approved topic, all right? And I want you to then send me an email with what you're thinking about doing, okay? Remember, in that email, you need to include the country where you want to focus, the people who live in that country, and also what are some of the specific IPC terms, theories, concepts, practices, etc., that you want to focus on to do that research, okay? So that's going to be extremely valuable, right? So get that to me sooner rather than later, because it's time to start working on step 2 of your process for the term project, all right? Uh, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to go over Module 2. It's now open for you, and in Module 2 you have a little bit different format than we had the last time. Not much different, but a little bit. And a lot of focus is going to be on your research. So I want to position you for doing that so that you can get started. Don't wait until the end. But I also want you to be able to manage your own expectations, okay? So let's actually look at the screen. So, of course, so we're down here in Module 2. I want you to notice, first of all, that you have 3 chapters to read instead of just 2. They're a little short and they'll go a little bit fast, but just keep that in mind that this is the next biggest chunk. Module 3 will be a smaller chunk because that is really kind of bringing it all together. But Module 2, you have 3 chapters to read. I also want you to notice that for the discussion forums, there are 3 possibilities, but I only want you to do one of them for grade. If you do more than one for your own self-enlightenment, for your own directed learning path, that's wonderful, and I love for you to do that. But I'm only going to grade the first one I see, and that's the points that will be listed. If you want to do more than one and you want me to grade a particular one that was really good, then just send me an email and I will grade that one only, all right, and give you feedback. But I do want you to look at DFE. Now, DFE is one of those assignments that is like the Myers-Briggs type indicator, and hopefully you guys have read that email and seen that there's an extra credit opportunity in that. But it's one of those activities that I'm still going to do a lecture on, because how you manage conflict and how do you resolve conflict and what are your go-to behavioral styles is very important to know for relationships and communication. So I recommend that you still work on doing that instrument and discover what is your style of communication when you are in a fight or in an argument or a disagreement or what have you, all right? Because it's very interesting. You may just want to do the report so that you have it when we actually talk about it in class without doing the discussion forum, and that's fine too. Notice that you also have an extra credit opportunity. For journals, there are 3 to choose from. Now, I'm going to have your journals from Module 1 graded, hopefully, in the next couple days. And that will give you some good feedback before you start doing your journals for Module 2. Remembering that you only do 1 unless you want to do more, and that's good for your own self-learning. All right, so let's jump down to the Module 2 test. Yes, there's a Module 2 test. You have 2 attempts, just like before. I will do a review before the last day before the module closes, but you can take one of those attempts at any time that you want. Just don't wait until the last minute, okay? Now, with that test, I really encourage you to look at what I have as the chapter objectives. What are the key terms and objectives that are identified to help you to study for all of these tests? All right. Now, let's scroll up to the project. Oh, excuse me. Your job now is to do your research. And the minimum is 5. That'll probably get you a C. A better amount is 7. But if you want to get so engrossed and learn so much about what you've come up with your topics, you'll probably have more than 7. But I'm going to make it really easy for you because I'm going to tell you how to start, all right? So all of you should be taking hand notes right now, whether you're at home or you're in the classroom. And I'm going to even give you a break to do some Google search and see what you come up with, okay? So your research, I want to talk about the kinds of research to start off with, okay? So we have what are known as .coms, .edu, .gov, .org, .net, and even .countries. All right, like .USA, .Uganda, etc. All right. Now, those are interesting approaches. Some of these are going to be better than others. Let me give you a couple right off the bat to get you prepared for what you're going to pull together, because you are going to bring this research and create what's known as an annotated bibliography. So I want to know your research before you even start writing your paper, all right? I want to see it. I want to see what you're focusing on and the types of research that you're getting. And this is a way to elevate your research skills so that they are really at the college level that they need to be, all right? So let's take a look at a couple of these. On a .com, an acceptable .com is going to be a reputable news agency. All right. Now, if we were to again draw that continuum in terms of liberal or conservative with a center point, you know that there are some news agencies that have a filter or a point of view that's stronger on one end of the continuum over the other, all right? What you want to do is to pick the ones in this range right here. The highly reputable ones are, all right, the New York Times. Don't go saying that it's a liberal, because it's highly, highly accurate. They don't get sued because their information is researched and done very well. All right. Now, if you want to have one that is also extremely good, there is a radio news agency called NPR. This is my go-to. I love it. They also have IPR, which is the International Public Radio. Excellent, excellent sources. And on their websites, there's recordings and broadcasts and transcripts of those broadcasts and all those things. So this is a great place to just go and do some excellent surfing, all right? So the New York Times, NPR, and IPR, International Public Radio. Now, if you tend to be a little bit more conservative, which is fine, let me tell you the newspaper that is a good quality. The Wall Street Journal. It is a little bit more conservative because it's clearly business oriented, all right? But it also does not get sued, all right? It is highly reputable. It is respected among business executives and non-business executives, all right? So all those liberals over here who are considered working for nonprofit organizations, they absolutely subscribe to the Wall Street Journal because that's about business. It's excellent. If you wanted to go a little bit more on this side in the liberal category, all right, you could look at something like, well, you could do CNN. No, we'll do NBC. NBC. All right. A little bit more on the liberal side, not as liberal as CNBC or MSNBC, all right? So kind of keep that in mind. So that gives you an idea of where your leanings are and the kind of data that you want, all right? That's your .coms. You're looking for news agencies. That's it. Don't do any other .coms. None, okay? None. Zero, zip, nada. All right. Now, another is, of course, an EDU. And this is where you want most of them because this is the world of education. This is the world of people who have all of those PhDs, EDDs, MDs, JDs, everything else. And this is the land of research, good quality, peer-reviewed research. And if their peers don't think it's any good, then their peers are going to throw them under the bus, and they'll have to retract what they have published or written, and their reputation is ruined, and they will probably get fired from the university and not be hired again, all right? So this is an excellent. Now, let me give you one that you already have that you can use. One of your peer-reviewed educational kind of sources equals your textbook. All right, so start using your textbook. Your textbook is amazing, all right? And you will definitely want to use that in your annotated bibliography because that's your starting point. All right, .gov is good for statistics, right? Now, if you are looking for statistics on a country, all right, you may want to go to the country itself, right? But you may also want to look at other kinds of research that is, again, reputable. All right, passes the crack test. .orgs can also be good. So let's say you are trying to do research about American Heart Association, and you want to know what are countries' heart disease, what's it like in countries where there are very few fast food operations or packaged foods. And you want to see if people who live in countries or areas that don't have a lot of this processed food, are they healthier? All right. Because by knowing if they're healthier, if you wanted to have a conversation with them about, you want to go over there and actually do work with these people, and some of them have high heart disease, then maybe you want to coach them in not succumbing to or falling victim to eating all those bad foods. And you want to do workshops and training and all those things to help people be better, healthier eaters. Okay, so yeah, you can look at statistics. Statistics can be very interesting and very good. And that's .orgs. So the .orgs are oftentimes your non-profits. .nets, don't use. All right, I don't recommend .nets. You and I can get a .net with no problem. And then the countries are just that, the countries of where you have identified that you want to do your research. All right. Now, an interesting news agency I forgot to say is the BBC. Okay, the British Broadcasting. It is excellent, also highly reputable, and I encourage you to use that because of your international focus as well. All right, and there's more. And if in doubt, send me an email, shoot me a quick email and ask me, will this source pass the CRAP test? All right. Now, you can answer that yourself by remembering what CRAP stands for. All right. Your sources have to be check, it's current, and it's usually within the last 5 years. You usually don't want to go too far before that, because honestly, technology and everything today, we can have current information. So it should be current. 5 years is about the range. All right. The exception to that is I want to give Hunter a shout out, because, for instance, Hunter is looking at, let me find it. Hunter is looking at a particular kind of group of people who suffer from alcoholism, the disease, but they live in Middle Eastern countries where it is against the law, as well as the religious standards, to drink alcohol. All right, any members of the Islamic religion. And so if he's going to do some teaching or coaching or helping people there, he wants to be informed. So one of the classics that he may want to look at is a book called, title is Alcoholics Anonymous. And I think it was like from the 1930s or 40s. And it is profound. It changed a world. It has offshoots that went into adult children of alcoholics and all other kinds of things. He definitely could use that foundational book, and I would encourage that, because that's what we call a seminal work. That means it's the seed, it's the beginning, it's the catalyst for a whole lot of other research and analysis and decision making and communication, etc. All right, so that's going to be older than 5 years, and that's okay. All right, not only does it need to be current, but it's got to be relevant. All right, and let me write that down. Be careful. If you are doing research on the lifestyles in Japan, I saw somebody's interested in Japan, don't think that all Asians are the same, all right? Japan customs and traditions and mores and taboos, communication practices are not necessarily the same as Cambodia or China or Taiwan or Vietnam or India or any place, okay? So you've got to be careful on your research. So if your focus is on Turkey, all right, then you've got to be careful that you're talking about Turkey and not necessarily Afghanistan and definitely not Israel, all right? So just because they're in the Middle East region doesn't mean that what's good for one is good for all. So be very careful with that. So keep it relevant, on topic. Okay, make sure your research is on topic. All right, now accurate simply means don't cheat, don't plagiarize, don't copy and paste. You need to do your own synthesis of information, put it in your own words, and then what you need to do is cite the source. Got to give credit where credit is earned, because other than that, it's theft. Pure and simple. You're stealing somebody else's work. Uncool. All right, so keep it accurate. Now, the other A stands for authoritative. All right, now I just went through the different kinds of Google searches that you might get. And I gave you the type of .coms, and I told you no .nets. All right, a .net is not going to pass authoritative. Nope, not going to pass. All right. A .com, the New York Times, check. That's going to be authoritative. All right. And if you cite the source and the article is specifically about the country that you want and the information is from the last 5 years, looking good, then you've got a source that you want to use. All right. The final piece is positive purpose. All right, with the emphasis on the purpose, okay? So what's the purpose of the publication? What are they trying to achieve? And what you're looking for is the good. You're looking for the author or the entity to be putting information forth that is for the good of people. Okay? Not fake news, not biased news, not a blog. Oh gosh, nobody ever do a blog. All right, that's just opinion. All right, it needs to be that's for the good of humanity, the good of interpersonal communication, the good of the people that you're studying, etc. Very important. Very important. What's the purpose? And that's why on that continuum, I don't want you going way over into far left or far right. No, we don't want to do that. We want to keep it into the middle of legitimacy and legitimacy. All right. So that's what we mean by crap test. So now what I want to do is I want to go over what are required sources. I already gave you one. I'm going to give you a couple more. Now, you're looking to get to at least 5, all right? Doesn't get you sort of the C quality. We really want you to get up to 7, all right? So, number 1, the first item, now, not in order that you listed because you got to follow APA guidelines, but the first source you need to dig your head into is your textbook. All right? And I want you to find where you've got the sources, the citations for the page numbers of what you want to talk about. So for instance, let me go to okay, here's a, let me go back to Hunter's again. Hunter has identified in his that the IPC theories, because that's what your starting point, that's what you've got listed in here, IPC theories, he's going to want to, from the textbook, identify self-esteem, all right? How is it defined in the textbook? He also wants to look at personal needs, which is explained. All right, so he's going to have a page number for where that's all discussed. He also wants to look at values. All right, and those are all a starting point in the textbook. And that's awesome because the textbook, if you remember at the bottom of the pages, it has a source citations for where they got their information. So you could take that and research that and get even more information. Okay, so you start at the textbook and then you look at the sources listed in the textbook and then you go there as well. And those are your .edus. Okay, so the textbook. The second thing you're going to need to do is you need to have a video. Now, a video, it needs to be 5 minutes or less. If you go to 7, it's not the end of the world, but don't go more than that. If you find a TED Talk that is extremely meaningful, but that TED Talk is 20 minutes long, then what you are going to do is to identify that you want the audience to begin watching, let's say at 12.13 to 17.02. That's the meaningful part in that video that you want your audience, your classmates to watch, okay? There are a lot of good sources for that. National Geographic has really good videos. Again, NPR and IPR have good video recordings. You can look at public television. You can look at PBS, public broadcasting television. You can look at old TED Talks, obviously. And you can also look at professors who have their videos posted in YouTube. All right, so you can do a YouTube search and you'll be amazed at what you find. So if you find another professor's out there, because mine are kind of out there floating, which always makes me nervous, but you can find one out there that is talking about your topic and what you're going at, and you can use that video as a source, all right? Now, you have to have at least one that you want your classmates to watch, but you can also have additional videos as part of your research. You could find an amazing documentary, all right? You can do that. One of our students is, let me see, Um, Emily, you're there. Hi, Emily.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, your first one is to look at the Maasai tribe in Kenya. Did you see that speaker that was here on our campus?
No, didn't hear about
So did you know that we had a guest speaker? I think he actually spoke at the in Southern Pines, that little theater, because our multipurpose room was under construction. But he was a Maasai warrior. You didn't see that?
that. No.
Oh, bummer. It was amazing. Okay, because if you had seen it and you had taken notes, then you could have used that as a backup. Okay. This is a very famous tribe right now. Did you see the TED Talk about them?
Not yet.
Okay, I'm curious to know, how did you come up with the idea of doing this tribe?
Um, we actually, I think it was last year at Union Pines, we did have someone from that tribe come and give like a little talk. It wasn't like all that in depth on anything in particular. It was just kind of an overview on, hey, here's who we are. And then I remember that my technology teacher, his
Yeah,
son over into it was a different tribe. It was over on like the west coast of Africa, but he was doing like research with drones and seeing if they can use drones to identify people. And then I remembered, hey, the Maasai tribe also deals with like a lot of wildlife and wilderness, and then I know that they're kind of like going around and being kind of popular, so I'm probably going to be able to find a bunch of resources on them.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, very fascinating group, by the way. So that's interesting. I've had another student, another class also do one. So that's a good one. All right. Not necessarily approved. I'm still thinking. Okay. So you've got your textbook, you have your videos. Um, Now, you can also then use, like I said, a direct agency. All right. So if you wanted to do, go back to hunters again, if you wanted to do something like the alcoholics in a particular part of the world, then he could go to that site, all right, and get good coaching information, etc., for what they do on the international level, all right, that kind of thing. Oh, wait, there was another one who said they wanted to do golfing. European golfing. Justin Lawrence. Um, he loves golf. Good. It's always a nice thing. There are people everywhere in this community who have played outside the United States. Dr. Dempsey is one. He plays in Scotland every year. He's the president of our school. Um, if you wanted to interview him or interview somebody else, go for it, okay? You can interview people. Interviews are a great way of getting expert information. So there might be a professor on campus who, we used to have one who went to Albania every year. And he actually married a woman from Albania as well. And so he used to talk a lot about what the culture was like there. And so there's lots of people that you can find who are not from Native American, uh, born here, that you could interview. So there's lots of teachers, and if you have any teachers from a country that you're interested in looking at, go for it. All right. So you could do interviews. All right. Now let's talk about the library. With proof that you have received library assistance, you can do the .edu journals. But you can also rent videos through them, documentaries, and if we don't have it in our library, they will get it for you. That's why I want you to start your research now, all right? You can talk with them through email. You can send them, call them on the telephone and ask for help. There's lots of different ways to do that, okay? And I'll get to that in a moment. So look at the library itself. And this is where a lot of your sources should be coming, all right? Most of your sources. So this gets you outside of just the common, just Google and get it done. I want your curiosity to be piqued, stimulated. I want you to look at these different people. So for instance, Justin stated, I think it was Justin, let me see, Jose's was really interesting. He is looking at understanding Asian people, but what you're going to have to do as you talk about K-pop, is K-pop in Japan or Korea?
Korea.
That's what I thought too. All right. So if you're going to look at the K-pop culture, which is fascinating, in Korea as a subculture and how they communicate, which is very interesting, that's not going to be the same as Japan. All right. So keep that in mind. Don't mix them up. That's what I was saying earlier. Now you talked about taking your shoes off and going into the homes. That is a custom in a lot of different countries. And it was so interesting, Jose, that you said that we don't do that in America. Guess what we do? In North Dakota and Minnesota. And most of the northern countries where there is snow a lot in the northern states. I lived in North Dakota for 2 years, and it was really hard for me to get used to. The first thing you do is you take your shoes off in the mud room, because everybody has a mud room for a purpose, all right, not for decoration. And everybody walks around in their stocking feet because it's cold, and you don't want to track the snow and the water and the slush and the dirt. And bleh. I'm so glad I'm not there anymore. So interesting. That was like another country. So interesting. Okay. All right, so this gives you some ideas. So be careful. Be careful. Start your research now. Send anything you want to shoot it to me to say, does it pass the crap test? Get assistance from library. And I'm going to close today with the 9 rules for conducting this kind of research. Now, I'm going to be posting this in Moodle probably over the next few days. And it's actually taken from Intercultural Communication, which is a wonderful academic journal. And it's a very practical guide. So here's some rules to follow as you are beginning to want to learn how to communicate with people who are different from you, all right? So rule number 1, first, you got to know your own, all right? So as I stated, North Dakota, northern parts of the United States, they do take home. It is a custom to take your shoes off. It would be a taboo, and here's another item that you can research right now. Taboo, oh, they're so fun to do research on. Taboo for the country that you want to look at and the people. Okay, so the country and the people. So think about if Hunter's doing work in, let's say, Saudi Arabia, highly Islamic, conservative, he would want to be highly conscious of the type of gift that he might take when he visits. Let's say he had nothing to do with alcohol. He just wanted to go be a nice person and go visit. Suppose he took with him a nice bottle of liquor as a gift. That would be awful to do. Suppose somebody goes to Nigeria, and you have this stereotype of the people in Nigeria being very poor. All of them are very poor. And you're going to go there on business. And maybe you're working in the movie business now. And Nigeria has their own, almost like a Bollywood and our Hollywood, so India, etc. They have a wonderful, booming movie producing industry. So you go over there and you want to interact with somebody, and for you, you're thinking, oh, those poor people, maybe they need a donation. Maybe I'll just give them some money. I'll give them a nice little check. And you offend them like crazy. Take them the bottle of wine, all right? So you need to do your homework on the country of where you're going to go to understand what is appropriate, okay? And if anybody's planning on going to Uganda, you better be ready to dance because everybody dances. I love it, all right? So learn yours and how yours is different from theirs, okay? Don't make assumptions. Number 2, have a positive attitude. Don't go in with a, oh, poor them. Number 3, be motivated to communicate. Well, the very fact that you selected your topics of these people is demonstrating some motivation. If you were going there for a business deal or you were going there to help people, you would be motivated. So think about what motivates you. Number 4 is to overcome that ethnocentrism. All right, let's go back to that again. Ugh. Ethnocentrism means that you think your culture is the best. It's the first. It's the top. All right? So it is the center of all that you believe, and you judge or evaluate everybody else based on your own. So Hunter wants to look at the values of the people in the specific country of the Middle East where he wants to go. He's got to know specifically, looking at those values, how are they similar and different, all right? And be very careful that he does not judge based on his own beliefs. Okay. All right, number 5, learn the target culture's rules. All right, so today, after you leave my class, I want you to type taboos in the country of your choice. All right, if it's a large country, narrow it down to a region, okay, if you can. So taboo in the region. So for instance, if you're going to do taboos in Korea, make sure you say South Korea versus North Korea or vice versa, all right, to make sure you're in the right zone. And that's going to be so interesting when you find out some of these taboos. I mean, there's still taboos about menstruation. There's still taboos about feminine, female mutilations still being done. There's lots of things, taboos about, of course, dress, how you, cover your face or not, etc. Number 6, determine if the communication is high context or low context. Okay, everybody should add this, all right, that you need to get a source and an understanding of the country that you're talking about to find out if they are high or low context. I'm going to be looking for this on your annotated bibliography. I want to make sure that you have done that research, all right? Because that is critically important, as you will find out, for communicating and understanding. Number 7, be flexible in where you're doing your research. Number 8, take responsibility for wanting to know truth, not stereotypes, so seek truth. And number 9 is your own mindset. Put on a mindset, again, of a positive attitude, but also that you are going to assume some responsibility and make the effort to learn about others. All right, so let's go back to what's on the screen. I want you to scroll down and look at right here, all right? Here is a detailed PowerPoint, and here is an audio recording of the PowerPoint, all right, that goes over how to do the research to pass the CRAP test. It's more in detail with really pretty slides for you to look at. So again, as you are selecting what's going to qualify to meet that 5 and that 7 or higher source list, you're going to want to do this, okay? I want you to notice also that there is a video, 2 videos for how to actually write an annotated bibliography. If you get assistance from the writing lab, all right, virtual, you will get extra credit points, all right? So keep that in mind, but this is also videos for you to watch on your own, right? I'm not going to go into that. That is up to you. That's an APA format. You can do that on your own. If you want to figure out how to do a citation of something you get off of Google, all right, here is Citation Machine Hyperlink that will take you for a process for how to do that. This is a very rich module under the term project section with lots of resources. So you got to use them. You got to click on them. You got to watch them. You got to do it. You got to invest the time. All right, you're only expected to be in class 1 hour a week. So that means you should have 2 hours of every week at least doing just classroom equivalent work. And then on top of that, the other assignments. So keep that in mind. All right. Are there any questions? Any questions? Are you ready to do this? Are you good? I like the thumbs up. That's great. I'm excited. Honestly, I love this. You are going to think of yourself as you are learning so that you can teach your classmates. So the group that you've come up with, put on your hat that says, my job is to teach my classmates that when they travel to that country, they need to do or not do. So one of the topics was Switzerland. I got to celebrate my 25th anniversary for a week in Switzerland. Oh, so wonderful. But there were some things that you had to learn about Switzerland before I went and visited. So some really good ideas. All right, that's it. Goodbye. Have a good day.